Hey guys! Today I'm going to make a video basically just giving my review about my experience that I had working at EF, or Education First, in Chongqing, China. So just a bit of a disclaimer, I know that EF has branch schools all over China, all over Indonesia, all over Russia, so this is just my experience that I had specifically at CQ1, one of the schools in Chongqing, China. They have, I think, 13 now. But just to give you a brief overview, if it's something that you're interested in, specifically working at EF, and you're kind of like, what is this about? What should I expect? Here you go. If you're not specifically looking at EF, this is still just a good information if you're interested in moving to China and teaching English. So I'll go ahead and get started, and you can learn a little bit more about EF in Chongqing, China. So first things first, we'll go ahead and talk about the hiring process. So once you submit your application, if they decide to move forward with you, they will reach out about doing a Skype interview. And the Skype interview was actually really easy. I was pretty nervous for it, but I want to say it was maybe 15, 30 minutes max. Basically just asking you about yourself, your past experience, gave you a couple situational questions, how do you handle conflict, stuff like that. But I'd say like right from the beginning I felt like, okay, I'm already hired. They kind of were just explaining the job role to me instead of like asking me too many questions. So it's pretty easy, and most of the people I know of that were hired by them felt the same way, like they felt like they were instantly hired, so I guess it's a good thing. Once you get off the Skype call and they decide that they want to extend an offer, they will send you a contract. On your contract, it will state the specific city that you're going to be living in, and it will state your salary and different things like that. It won't specifically say like holidays or how many days off you get and whatnot, but once you get to your branch school, they will fill in that information for you. So if you're okay with the salary and you're okay with the location that they gave you, you can go ahead and sign the contract, give it back to them, and then from then on they will assign a visa officer to you. So now the difficult part begins, I would say, just getting all your paperwork in line for your visa. But again, there's a specific person there to help you. So I was emailing that person constantly, asking them questions. They were pretty helpful. The only thing that I would say is that each office in the United States, like there's only a couple offices that you can go to, and luckily for me, Los Angeles is one of them, so I was able to just go in person on my own. But each office throughout the United States that does give the Chinese visas are a little bit different on what they require, so it was a little bit complicated when they were giving me information that wasn't directly correct, and I'd go down to the Chinese consulate in LA, and was difficult at times, but you know, overall I would say they were pretty helpful, and they tried when they could. They just weren't specific on exact locations if your location has something a little bit different than the standard. But overall, this is the time you'd be working on your visa, and someone would be helping you out with that, which is pretty nice. Once you have submitted all your visa documents and you have your visas in your passport, you will let your recruiter know, and they will book your flight for you. So that's another thing that's pretty easy about it, is that you don't have to worry about it, you don't have to stress about money. They just simply book the flight for you, and they just give you the flight information. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is upon arrival. So now you've arrived in whatever city you're going to be teaching in, what happens now? So there will be someone from EF waiting at the airport for you, and they'll be holding up a sign, so it'll be easy to spot them. They will take you directly from the airport to the hotel, and you have your own hotel room that they've paid for 2 weeks, which is really nice. Typically, you should arrive the day of training or maybe the day before. So that very first day when training starts, you don't actually start training in the classroom, but they will take you to the bank, help you set up a bank account. They'll take you to a phone store so you can get a Chinese SIM card. You can have it set up so that way, you know, you can get the Wi-Fi in your new apartment, whenever that may be. They're kind of just helping you set everything up. And then they will also provide a realtor for you and a translator, so you can start looking for your apartment right away. And in China, the real estate market moves pretty quickly. So the very first day that we looked for apartments, we got our apartment. So the second apartment that we saw, we loved it. We got it that day, a couple hours later, and we moved in the next day. So it's super fast, super easy, especially with them providing the realtor and the translator to help you with the contracts. And all of that stuff. So the first couple days is more, getting settled and trying to get a routine and not be so jet lagged. Once you actually start your official training in the classroom, it'll be 5 days. Typically like morning to early evening, you'll be in a classroom, you'll have, lecturers taking notes, you'll do mock lessons and, anything basic that you maybe would do like in a university classroom, learning about education is kind of what they're doing. They're just trying to introduce you to the curriculum, introduce you to how they do things here. And I would say it's pretty easy. You don't really get judged or graded or anything like, oh, you could get your contract terminated based on this. It's not really what it is. It's just to make you feel more comfortable. So once you get into your center, you'll feel more comfortable because you'll already have a handle on what we're going to be teaching. Once you actually get to your center, you will continue to do training. So it depends on the needs of your center. If your center really needs teachers right away, maybe they'll only give you like a week or two of kind of, watching and co-teaching, and then you're going to be on your own. I know some centers that, they didn't really need the teachers to start right away, so they had a month of just observing teachers, co-teaching, taking notes, and then they slowly got introduced to having their own classes. So it really just depends on your center, but whatever center you go to, you should for sure be doing some observations and co-teaching before you actually start your own class. So as I just mentioned before, you've just finished your training, you're now at your center that you're going to be teaching at, and hopefully you are observing, you are co-teaching, and slowly getting your feet wet, getting your own classes, slowly but surely. So each center is a little bit different in how they give days off and how many hours you're supposed to work. But typically you are going to always have to work Saturdays and Sundays, and then you'll work 3 days during the week. So for me personally, I had Mondays and Tuesdays off, then I worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So whatever days that you work on the weekdays, so again, for me, that was Wednesday through Friday, you're gonna work around 3 to 8 p.m. So our classes didn't start until 5. So I had class from 5 to 8, but I still had to come in at 3 to just, lesson plan, do some administrative work. So the weekdays are a little bit easier and shorter because you're gonna have, not as many classes, but the weekends make up for that because everybody has to work on Saturdays and Sundays because, no kids are in school. So that's when a lot of people are trying to take English classes. So typically on the weekend, you'll work from about 10 a.m. to 6. And if you're lucky, you won't have classes back to back, but I would say the majority of the time you're gonna have back to back classes all day on Saturdays and Sundays. So I will say the weekends are pretty rough, but to me, it wasn't that bad because the rest of the week was pretty easy. And then especially for me, right when I got through the hard Saturday and Sunday, I had Monday and Tuesday off. So it was easy for me to relax in that way. Everybody has different days off, but you are guaranteed to have 2 consecutive days off. So typically it's either Monday and Tuesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. There's occasionally a Thursday, Friday, but that's not really usually how it works. They try to just stagger everyone so that way the school is never closed. And that way, if someone needs to go on vacation, they can have people cover and whatnot. So it kind of works out in that way. If you do come with someone, like I came with my boyfriend and we worked at 2 different centers, they're really nice about giving you guys the same days off. Even though we're at 2 different centers, they made sure that we both had Mondays and Tuesdays off. So that way, we could travel and hang out with each other on our off days. So that was really nice. When it comes to the actual amount of classes you'll be teaching, one ACH, as they call it, is about 45 minutes in real time. So 1 hour of ACH is 45 minutes. So typically you work like 25 ACH a week, but no more than 30. So if you're working above 30, you will get paid extra as overtime. For every 1 ACH that you have over 30, you'll get paid a certain amount. I will say though that they're pretty good about that. They don't usually overwork you, at least in my center. I don't think anybody worked over 30 ACH. So that's really nice. They made sure to try to spread it out as much as they possibly could. Obviously, it kind of sucks because sometimes there will be teachers who have a lot more classes than others, and that's just kind of the way it goes. But I would say overall, you're not going to be overly worked. I never felt like I was overly worked. The weekends, like I said, are pretty difficult, pretty long, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was so easy that it really was okay. To piggyback on top of that, that's your normal schedule, but there are 2 different times of the year that we call like holiday courses. So during February or January, sometimes it's like their winter course, and then we have the summer course, which is typically July and August. So for both of these times, the winter course is 3 weeks long, and the summer course is between 6 to 8. So during these times, you will be working a lot more. Granted, it's only, again, like I said, 2 different times of the year, so it's not terrible, but you will be working all 5 of your days. You'll probably be working from like 9 to 9. So those are really long and really tiring times. But if you're over 30 ACH, they will compensate you for that, so that's fine. And typically you also get a holiday bonus, so you're getting paid more because you're working more, so it kind of evens out, and you know that you're not doing it forever. You can get through those couple of weeks, so it's typically okay. But that's something that I wish that I really would have known, because they did tell me, you're going to be working more in summer, but I didn't realize how much I'd be working in the summer. It was really, really long hours, and I will say it's really exhausting. But if you go in knowing that you're going to be doing that, I think it makes it a little bit easier. So just keep that in mind. In the winter time, right around like Chinese New Year, for about 3 weeks, you'll be working 5, maybe 6 days a week from 9 to 9. And then in summer course, July and August, you will be working again, almost 9 to 9. You will have some breaks here and there, but it's really long. You'll be at the school pretty much all day. So that's one thing to keep in mind. In regards to vacation time, you get 10 days of annual leave per year. So that is just, your personal vacation days that you can just request with your boss and just take off whenever you want. They're usually pretty good about it. You can take 10 vacation days that are paid, and then you also get 10 vacation days that are unpaid. Typically, they don't like you to use those. It's usually only, if you really want to go home and see your family, or you have a family emergency or something like that. I know some people who did use that and they didn't care that it wasn't unpaid. They just wanted more vacation time, and their boss was okay with it because it was a quieter time of the year. So again, that's just something to talk to your boss about, how, depending on how cool they are, how different your center is. But you will for sure have 10 paid days off during the year on top of all the holidays. So typically, there are some random holidays here and there, but for Chinese New Year, you'll at least get 1, maybe 2 weeks off. And then for October holiday or national holiday, it's 1 week off the first week of October. So that's also another thing to consider. If you're already going to get a week off, you might as well tack on a couple extra days of your annual leave, and you can make a 2-week vacation out of it or whatever. So I would say, that's one concern that I had going into it. I was moving to China because I really wanted to travel. So I wanted to make sure I had enough vacation days and holidays to do so. And I never felt that I didn't have enough time to travel. I felt like I traveled so much during my 1 year of teaching there. So that's a real big positive, because I know most people move to China to do something like that. So don't worry about that. So now I've given you, a brief overview of what the hiring process looks like, what it looks like when you first get there, and kind of the working conditions of EF. So now I'm going to answer more of like my personal, how I felt about it. And, a lot of people ask me, oh, if it's so great, why did you leave? But, I finished out my 1-year contract, and I have no complaints really about it. But the main reason why I left was because I wanted to backpack around Asia. And if you are to sign on a 2nd-year contract, you don't get any vacation time in between it. You just automatically continue working as if, you never stopped. So that was a big thing for me. I think if they would have given me some time off, like, hey, you can go travel and then continue on with another contract in a month, I would have done it, because I really did enjoy my time there. But, I had already been working for a year, and I've been saving, and that was like my whole goal, was to just, backpack Asia as long as I possibly could afford it. So I went and I backpacked Asia for about 4 months after I was done. And to me, that was my goal. So I did what I wanted to do. But I will say, if I were to stay, if I were to go back now, even though I loved my experience at EF, and I think it's a great opportunity for people who are doing this for the first time, I think I would choose working at an international school only because the pay is about double what you get at EF. So, there's definitely some pros and cons, which I'm going to get into now. We can start with the positive things. The pros, I think that they were extremely helpful with setting up, the move, the job, helping you feel comfortable. You're moving across the whole world, and sometimes that can be really scary, especially when you've never visited the country before. So I think they do a fantastic job with that. Everyone kept asking me before I was leaving, "Are you nervous? Are you nervous?" And I kept thinking, you know what, I'm actually not, because I felt like they had taken care of everything for me. So that was a really nice security, going into the move and then actually like setting up my life in China. They were extremely helpful. Another pro is that you have, as crappy as it is to say, as a foreigner, you pretty much have job security. So if you want to stay there for the rest of your life, you literally can. They want foreigners to work there so bad that you would have to do something like completely atrocious to get fired or anything like that. Like, I've known people, not that I recommend it, but I know people who show up late, who aren't the best teachers, do this, and nothing's ever going to happen to them. So I guess that's one positive thing, is like I always felt like my job was safe, even though I take it really seriously because, I was a teacher here in the US and that's what I went to school for. A lot of people don't really care about teaching. They're just doing it to, travel and have a good time. So that is one positive thing, is like I really have never heard of anyone getting fired before, even if they've done, some not good things. So that's definitely a pro. Like I mentioned before, another pro is like it's just an easy workload. Like the weekends may be tough, but during the week it's so easy. The max you can have on a weekday is 3 classes. So it's pretty simple, and they have the lesson plans already made for you, so you can literally just print it out right before class, head off to class. Super easy. So I would say, like, once you're at work, you're obviously doing work things, but as soon as you go home, you never think about it. You never have to grade. You never have to lesson plan. It's just kind of like, you're only working when you're at work. You never have to work from home, which is awesome. But I would say my favorite thing about it, the biggest pro of all, was the community, because not only are you working with other foreign teachers, but you're also working with some local Chinese teachers as well. So you have that great sense of like community with the foreigners, because you speak the same language. A lot of us come from America or England or whatnot, so you just have things to relate to. You make friends pretty easily. There's always people doing something. Hey, let's go to the movies. Hey, let's go travel somewhere this weekend. There's just always someone to do something with, which is awesome. And then also with the local teachers, they want to hang out with us too. They are so helpful with any problems that you have, whether it's trying to order something to your apartment, trying to, I don't know, set up a new account with something online and you can't speak Chinese. Like, they're just the most helpful people ever, and they always want to hang out with you and show you different parts of their own city and their country. So it's a good melting pot of, foreigners and locals, and everybody just gets along. And I have never felt such a sense of community in a place that I worked before. I really felt like we were all family, which is so awesome. And I know it's different for each center. Like I met some people who hated their center and no one got along and whatnot. So maybe I was just really lucky, but I would say because of the melting pot of foreigners and locals, hopefully you'll be able to at least make one friend, wherever you are. So now it's time to get into the cons. Like I said, overall, I think it's a really great place to work, especially if it's your first time moving and teaching abroad. I really can't recommend it enough for your first year ever doing that. But I will say the cons are, they are what they are. Their wages are okay. You're gonna live in China like a queen or a king. You're gonna have so much money, you don't know what to do with it. Until you start hearing about what other companies or other schools are paying, and they're paying you double, and you're like, wow, I could have even more money. So it's one of those things where you're not going to struggle by any means. I don't say that they have low wages, like you're poor or you're going to struggle. You're still going to live a really, really nice life, be able to save, pay for student loans, go travel, do whatever you want. But then again, when you hear the wages of other people that you meet working at different locations or different centers or different schools or just different companies, it kind of makes you think, oh, okay, well, if I were to, instead of signing another contract with EF, I might as well do the same thing with this company and make double. So that's a big con that I know a lot of people left for. And then the second one that I have written down here is just, you know, I've mentioned it several times during this thing, but each center is so different. And I think that's a huge con because, you know, I had a great experience, but I met so many people who left after like 2 months because they hated their center. So it really just depends on your boss, how nice they are to you, your community that you work with, and, you know, it varies from center to center, so it really sucks. Like, even my boyfriend and I, we worked at 2 different centers. His boss wasn't the nicest person in the world. Thankfully, he had a lot of friends that he worked with that it made it better, but his boss wasn't very nice, and his boss made them come in earlier than everyone else. We only had to come in at 3, they had to come in at 2. No reason why, just an extra hour of admin every single day, which really sucked because that wasn't what the EF standard was. So it's little things like that where they can, you know, trying to change the holiday that you have off, or sometimes I had to message her and say, hey, we're getting these days off. I don't understand why, you know, he's getting these days off. Why can't we travel together? Stuff like that. So it's not detrimental, I don't think, unless, again, you have something really horrible, but you can never know how your experience is going to be until you're already at your center. And that's just something that, you know, is just all about luck, and hopefully you get something that you like. At least if you have a friend, I think it makes it a little bit easier, and as long as your boss is nice, that really makes all the difference. My boss, if she's still working there at CQ1, is Tina Liu. I think she just got transferred to CQ2, but she was the best boss I could have ever asked for. She's super nice, she's super understanding, she always tries to do what's best for the teachers. So, you know, those are the main cons that I have, is just, you know, a little bit lower wages, and you just kind of don't know until you get to your center. But again, overall, I'd say it's a great place to work. It's a good place to start your teaching career, especially abroad, to feel comfortable. And then after your first year contract, you know, you kind of feel comfortable doing this, whether you want to stay in China with another company, if you want to go somewhere else. You know, after China, I left and I moved to Prague and did it, and now I'm moving to South Korea. So I feel like it gave me the confidence to know what I'm doing and what to look for in a company. So yeah, that's my overall review of my experience working at EF, you know, how they helped me in the hiring process, and once I got there, what the conditions were like, and just my overall feelings towards it. So if you've had an experience that was, you know, similar or different, you just want to share, go ahead and comment below, because I would love to hear. I know it's very different because it's all over China, and so there's hundreds of locations, but that's my side. And I hope that if you're considering EF, this helps you. If you're just considering, you know, teaching English in China, again, just write me a comment, ask me a question. I'm always happy to help. I've done this for a couple years now, so I'd love to help you out. So thank you so much for watching my video. See you next time.